All right, once again, pleased to be joined by Richard Skinner of Local12.com and, of course, the former Red, former Yankee, Dave Collins, player and coach. Guys, let's take the poll question right off the bat. Are the Reds, at Mother's Day, exceeding expectations, below expectations, or are they pretty much, Richard Skinner, right where you thought they'd be?
I mean, this was really a 500 team on paper. It's got holes in the rotation. It's gotten even worse because of Homer Bailey's injury. It had holes in the lineup that you could list them, 1 through 9, for goodness sakes. And you had some holes in the bullpen, and all those things have combined to make this team what it is. It was a 500 team to begin with at best, and that's about what it's going to be.
What do you think, Dave? Where are they here at Mother's Day?
I think they're sitting pretty good considering Bailey being out and Mesoraco being out. But when I look at their club and look at the grind of the whole season, with 2 young kids pitching in their starting rotation and Marquis, who hasn't pitched in a year, I don't think they're going to give you a ton of innings. And the Reds are weak in their bullpen, and they're going to pay for it before the year's over.
I'll tell you this, though. This Michael Lorenzen, he looks good. His 3 outings are good outings.
Yes, he's looked very, very good, but he's a kid that probably still needs some seasoning in AAA, and they didn't expect him to be here now, but he's going to learn how to pitch in the big leagues, and he's done a good job.
But that's the one silver lining when you're going through some injury stuff like this, and you eventually need to see the kids. Yeah, exactly. Opportunity is knocked for a guy like Lorenzen. It's up to you. You've got a chance to stick for a long time, or maybe get sent back down for a little bit of seasoning. But sometimes it can be a good thing, especially when you're on that cusp of maybe being a team that needs to rebuild.
And as we saw today, no one is immune in the bullpen. Aroldis Chapman gives up the.
Kevin Gregg touched him somehow.
I
and screwed
guess
him
so.
up.
He gives up the 3 straight hits, and it leads to the Gordon Beckham RBI to win the game walk-off style. But look, at some point, forget Aroldis. I mean, that'll happen once in a blue moon. But the Kevin Gregg stuff, that has to go away, doesn't it? I mean, we're at that point now where it has to stop.
You would think so, and I mean, I kind of wonder what's going on with the thinking down there about why Gregg is still on the club and why they ran him out there this week against Pittsburgh in a 1-run game, and they've got a chance to win that game, and you want to win every game that you can. Every game's important. And they ran him back out there and ended up losing the game. They brought him in, facing the middle of the order with Pittsburgh, and they paid for it.
And it happened in Chicago as well?
Yeah, in fact, I wrote something on Local12.com after that Pittsburgh debacle that Dave was alluding to. I just, in a 1-run game, whether you're leading or behind, your best arms have got to throw. As long as you haven't thrown 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row. Cingrani was available that day. Chapman was available that day. J.J. Hoover did pitch that day. You've got to use your best guys in 1-run games because you're going to play a lot of them, and you're going to have to win a lot of them to have any chance that you might have to make the playoffs.
All right, Dave Collins, you played with a guy, Vince Coleman, who had a lot of attributes that Billy Hamilton has. He had a lot of weaknesses that Billy Hamilton, we're seeing, has. How do you get Billy Hamilton going? How did you guys get Vince Coleman going?
Well, Vince Coleman was a switch hitter just like Billy Hamilton was. Vince was a pretty good right-handed hitter. But left-handed, what they did with Vince was they had him use a big bat, a heavy bat, and just get the barrel to the ball and try to hit the ball hard on the ground or on the line. And it helped him with his on-base percentage because when he got on, I mean, he created havoc out there. And Billy's going to have to do the same thing because his strength is to get on base.
Of course.
He's got to put the ball in play or he's no value to the club.
All right, Skinny, let me ask this question. At what point do you cut bait on the switch hitting thing? At what point, I understand the value of switch hitting, but at what point do you, if you're so much better off from one side of the plate, just ride with it?
It is funny, though. I've looked, and really his numbers, both batting average-wise, on-base-wise, slugging-wise, OPS, all that stuff, is pretty darn close right-handed to left-handed. Now, the sample size is different because he's hitting right-handed against left-handed pitching. He's hitting left-handed against right-handed pitching. His numbers are better as a right-handed hitter, period, end of story. Do you at some stage decide to do that? Mariano Duncan for the Dodgers many, many years ago started out as a switch hitter, eventually became a right-handed hitter, and actually became a pretty darn good right-handed hitter. Actually had a little bit of pop towards the end of his career as a right-handed hitter. It's something you're going to have to look at because whatever he's got going right now, and it's now a large sample size. We're 2+ years into this now. It's not working.
Yeah, 2+ years, and you had the back end of that September too, the year before. Okay, let's spend a couple of minutes doing this now because I think this is fairly interesting at this point in time. Whatever beef you may have with this club right now, it cannot be with Joey Votto. Not this season.
You're right.
He's done his job. He's done it at an all-star, potentially MVP level. He won't get an MVP because I think you got to be in a winning team. Still, he's at that level. So July comes around. He's still at that level, Dave Collins. And there's a taker because somebody needs a bat. Some team's got a shot. Do you unload that contract if you're given that opportunity?
In a New York minute, I would, because they're going to be paying him for another 9 years. He's playing like the MVP Joey Votto we saw a few years ago, and he's a great hitter. You can tell he's on a sense of a mission this year, but I don't see him producing over the next 9 years at the level he's supposed to be performing at with the money he's going to make. If I can get some prospects for him with the way the club is built right now, I'm trading him.
And Richard Skinner, is there a team? Would there be a team in July? I guess you have to see how it shakes out. Who's really wanting to go after this thing, but who would take that
and
contract?
you'd probably have to eat some of that contract, and that's okay. Honestly, if you're going to go into rebuilding mode and you are about at that level because of where you are with prospects, the lack thereof, where you are financially, you may have to swallow it and say, you know what, if we're going to rebuild, we're rebuilding this thing completely, and that includes if we have to eat some contracts, get rid of some guys, you got to do that.
Yeah, and it would alleviate a lot of payroll situations
No
down the road. All right. Dave Collins, Richard Skinner, thanks so much tonight. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next week after the homestand.